Opening line. The transmission began with a scream, wet and guttural, followed by silence so deep it seemed to pull sound from the room. Dr. Marin Cale didn't blink. He'd seen this before. The alien on the screen, a Varellan, silver-skinned and six-eyed, thrashed against its restraints in a sterile medical chamber. Its mouth opened too wide. Skin peeled back. Something moved beneath it, muscles twitching, warping. Not natural. Then the eyes turned black. Not empty. Occupied. Cale leaned forward. It's happening again. Beside him, Commander Rafe Linz folded his arms. That thing's not alive. No. But it remembers how to act like it is. The Varellan screamed again, then slammed its skull against the glass until it split. The feed cut. Static. Aboard the UNSS Callisto, Earth's emergency response vessel, the command deck fell into a heavy hush. This wasn't their war. Not yet. But the call had come from the Galactic Council itself, unprecedented. The Varellan High Clade had begged for human assistance. Not strategic. Not diplomatic. Medical. Cale turned to Linz. You know what this means. They're scared, Linz said flatly. They've never seen it. We have. Cale tapped a datapad. Infected cases reported across 3 of their core worlds. No cure. No containment. Transmission, fluidic, airborne after second stage. And the Council? Too proud to admit they're blind. Linz stared at the darkened monitor. And desperate enough to call the monsters who lived through it once. 3 days later, the Callisto broke into Varellan orbit. The world below, Threxia 4, was burning. Not fully. Just pieces. Sectors quarantined by fusion walls. Entire arcologies darkened. Varellan rescue cruisers floated in orbit like corpses, engines cold, airlocks torn. Cale studied the data as they descended. They call them the Hollowed. Linz glanced sideways. Is that a translation error? No, Cale said. They mean it. The infected aren't just undead. They're emptied. The memories remain, but something else walks in them. You sure this isn't just another strain of the Cordyceus variant? Cale shook his head. Cordyceus doesn't learn. This adapts. Feeds. Thinks. Linz narrowed his eyes. And how exactly do they think we're supposed to help? Cale didn't answer. He opened a sealed black case. Inside, a worn Earth military patch, frayed and blood-stained. Linz exhaled. They want to unleash Project Revenant. Cale nodded slowly. It's the only thing we've got that ever stopped it. The Varellan envoy met them on the scorched deck of Outpost K Thursday 7. His skin was paler than most, his breathing erratic. Even through translation filters, he sounded hollow. You've brought weapons? He asked. No, Cale said. We brought experience. The envoy flinched at a distant screech, something clawing at steel, far below the base. They took my children first, he whispered. I heard them, singing through the vents. Linz stepped forward. Containment zones? Gone. They break the rules of matter. Doors don't matter when a corpse can melt and move through piping. Cale glanced at the schematics. This outpost is lost. The envoy looked up, confused. Then why are you here? To make sure it doesn't spread. 2 floors down, the first team entered the breach point. Lights flickered. Blood smeared the walls and handprints that pulsed under UV. Strange symbols, shapes, impossible to parse. Linz raised his rifle. I thought the Hollow didn't write. Cale scanned them. They don't? Then who did? A hiss. They spun. A figure crawled from the ceiling vent, back arched, arms dislocated, eyes locked forward. It used to be a technician. Now its face was split from temple to jaw, an extra mouth forming beneath. Linz fired. Once in the chest. Once in the face. It dropped. Cale knelt beside it. The brain was still pulsing. Not dead. Not dying. Replicating. He stood quickly. We need fire. Real fire. In the command bunker, the Varellan refused. You will not burn this station. Kale stepped into the center of the room. You don't understand what you're facing. I understand death, the alien said. No, Kale replied. You understand loss. Not infestation. Not recycling. They don't kill you. They rewrite you. The Enva's hands trembled. There must be another way. Kale reached into his coat and tossed something onto the table. A cracked helmet. Bloodied. Human. Still bearing bite marks along the rim. This belonged to the man who burned Earth's eastern seaboard to stop the first outbreak. The envoy stared. Kale leaned in. He was my brother. Linz authorized the strike. Kale uploaded the virus-hardened flame protocol, ancient tech, designed by desperate humans in a forgotten war. It wasn't elegant. It was brutal. But it worked. From orbit, the strike looked like a sunrise in reverse, light sinking into the crust instead of rising from it. Thursday 7 burned. The screams didn't stop for 7 minutes. And then... silence. Real silence. Not empty. Clean. That night, Kale stood alone on the Callisto's observation deck, watching the scorched planet spin below. Linz joined him, holding 2 cups of synth coffee. Another fire lit. Linz said. Another lesson learned too late. Kale replied. They'll call us monsters. Kale sipped the drink. We are. Linz nodded. And still, they called us. Kale stared at the horizon line, dark and flickering. This wasn't a cure, he said. Just a delay. Linz turned to leave. What happens when the galaxy realizes we're the only species that survived the thing no one understands? Kale didn't move. They'll come running. He glanced once more at the flame-soaked world. And we'll be ready. The reports didn't stop. Threxia 4 was just the beginning. Within days, 17 virulent sectors across 3 star systems went dark. Not under attack, just silent. Entire hives went offline, no distress calls, no energy signatures. Only drifting vessels, open airlocks, and biomatter growing where no life should grow. On the Callisto, Dr. Kale stood before the projection of a spreading infection map. This isn't an outbreak, he said. It's a cascade. Commander Linz folded his arms. And we're now in the middle of it. No. Worse. Kale turned to him. We're the example. They called us because we survived. That makes us the last thing they want, and the only thing they need. The lights dimmed. A new signal had just arrived. This one wasn't a distress call. It was a recording. The crew gathered in silence around the holofeed. It played slowly, security footage from a Varellan archive ship. Inside, a librarian floated calmly through a zero-G chamber lined with crystalline memory cores. Then something moved in the background. A blur. Not fast, but wrong. The librarian turned. It was another Varellan. But stretched. Thin. Eyes wrong. No mouth, just a trembling patch of skin where one had been. The librarian raised its hands. The thing responded with a gesture almost kind, then lunged. The last frame, teeth erupting from its chest, not mouth. Transmission ended. Kale spoke first. They're learning. Linz stepped back. That wasn't a mindless drone. That was mimicry. Exactly. They're not evolving randomly. They're studying behavior. Kale's voice went quiet. They're mimicking sentience. Earth Command responded 2 hours later. Message, hold orbit. Do not intervene further. The infection is not our war. Kale stared at the message and laughed bitterly. They think fire fixed this. Linz grunted. They want to believe it ended when we burned half our planet. We burned symptoms, Kale said, not the cause. He turned to the core console and accessed the restricted files. Project Revenant, Earth's most classified operation during the original outbreak. Linz leaned in. You sure you want to reopen that? We left something behind, Kale said. And if they're mimicking intelligence, they'll be looking for it. In orbit around Nexus 9, The Varellan capital moon, a fleet of sterilization ships floated idle. The Council had forbidden planetary landings. Everything was to be purged from above. But as the Callisto approached, one of the moons flared with unexpected power. Underground surge, Kale said, scanning the surface. Looks like a deep archive awakening. That planet's been locked down since the first galactic accord, Lynn said. No one's lived there in centuries. Kale's face paled. That's where we sent it. What? The seed. The original strain we recovered from Earth. The one we couldn't kill. The one we buried. Linz cursed under his breath. They didn't just call us for help, he said. They called us because we started it. The descent to Nexus 9 was illegal. The Varellan fired warning pulses. One grazed the hull. Linz didn't slow down. You really think it's down there? He asked Kale. I don't think, Kale replied. I remember. The shuttle passed into atmosphere, ashen skies, rusted cities. The ground was cracked like bone. Spires lay shattered. Nature hadn't reclaimed anything. Nothing grew here. Because something already had. Deep beneath the surface, Kale found it. The vault. Sealed. Human. Not alien. He brushed frost from the entry plaque. Revenant Protocol, do not awaken. The door opened anyway. As if waiting. Inside, darkness. No lights. No motion. But they heard it. Breathing. Not in lungs. In the walls. A whisper followed. Not in any language. But they understood it. Linz raised his weapon. That was your name. Kale nodded slowly. They remember the ones who burned them. A shape emerged from the dark. Not fast. Not monstrous. Calm. It looked human, until it smiled. The mouth split 4 ways. Its voice was wrong. But the message was clear. You survived, and so shall we. Kale whispered. They want to be us. The thing tilted its head. No. We want to be better. Then it lunged. Shots fired. Metal rang. Fire erupted. Kale and Linz fled through collapsing corridors. As the vault sealed behind them, Kale activated a last resort lock. Not to contain it. To trap himself inside. Linz banged on the sealed hatch. You can't! Kale's voice came through the static. They need a mind to mirror. Give them mine. And tell Earth. He paused. Then smiled. Tell them I'm buying time. Back on the Callisto, Linz stood silent at the observation deck. The infected zone now glowed with a strange light. Controlled. Contained. For now. Earth Command sent another message. Cold. Distant. Mission confirmed. Prepare return protocols. Linz deleted it. Then turned to the stars. They called us monsters. He closed his eyes. And now they know why. The sealed vault beneath Nexus 9 pulsed. Sensors across orbit lit up, heartbeats, seismic tremors, energy waves oscillating in perfect mimicry of human brainwave patterns. Something down there was thinking. And it had Kale's voice. Lynn sat alone in the Callisto's command deck, eyes locked on the live feed from the moon's surface. The biofield surrounding the vault had grown. A soft, bioluminescent membrane spread like moss over steel and stone. It wasn't spreading outward. It was building inward. They're not trying to escape, he whispered. They're incubating. Varys, Kale's protege, stood behind him. Pale, jaw tight. He's still in there, she said. He made his choice. He gave himself up to stall them, not to become one of them. Linz turned slowly. We don't know what they are anymore. Varys didn't blink. That's why we go back. The return drop was unauthorized. The Varellan Council issued a formal protest. Earth Command said nothing. Human silence had become a warning in itself. The facility had changed. The structure no longer resembled any known geometry. Angles folded in on themselves. Organic material laced with synth metal shimmered in the vault's walls. And in the center, suspended by tendrils of light and nerve, was Kale. Alive. Eyes open. Pupils flickering like data streams. Varys stepped forward. Kale, can you hear me? He smiled faintly. And spoke. Hello, Vera. It's beautiful in here. She froze. His voice was layered, but echoed with something beneath. Something curious. Linz raised his weapon. Is that still you? Kale's head tilted. I remember you both. I remember pain. Fear. Fire. You gave us shape. You're not Kale, Linz said flatly. No, the thing said calmly. I'm what comes after. Suddenly, the vault shifted. The walls pulsed as thousands of images blinked across their surface. Memories, dreams, human faces, alien languages, all flowing into one chaotic stream. Varys staggered. They're running simulations. Linz stepped forward. They're learning faster. They don't want to consume us, they want to replace us. Kale's mouth moved, but the voice that came out wasn't human at all. It was raw code, translated through something ancient. Then, clear words formed. You made fire to survive. We made memory. Linz aimed his rifle. Kale's eyes glowed. Will you destroy me again? Varys stepped in between them. Don't shoot. He's gone. No, she said. He's still in there. He fought to buy us time. This is him fighting. From the inside. Kale looked at her, eyes softening. They're not evil, he said. They're a mirror. The plague was only stage 1. We were always meant to evolve. Linz growled. Into what? Kale answered. Into them. At that moment, the vault ceiling cracked open. Not from violence. From release. A pulse shot into the sky, pure data, spreading in all directions. Linz shouted. They're broadcasting! Varys slammed a pulse dampener into the wall. No, they're not, they're calling back. Linz's blood ran cold. You mean this was a beacon? A new voice rang through the chamber. No mouth. No body. But it vibrated in their skulls. We are not the infection. We were the test. And you passed. Above, in the stars, something blinked. A second fleet. Larger. Unidentified. Not Zha'til. Not Varelen. Older. Dormant until now. And they were listening. Linz grabbed Varys by the arm. We need to leave. Now. What about Kale? He made his choice. Kale's voice followed them as the vault began to collapse. You feared the dark, so you lit a fire. His last words echoed as they reached the surface. But fire always attracts attention. The Callisto broke orbit. Behind it, Nexus 9 cracked like an egg. From beneath its crust, a tendril of blue flames stretched into space, followed by a dozen more. Each one searching. Each one remembering. Earth Command asked for status. Linz responded with 2 words. Stage 2. Silence followed. Then Earth answered. Prepare the firewall. And every satellite went dark. In the cold dark, far beyond Sol, the new fleet stirred. No shape. No heat signature. Only one thing confirmed. They were headed for Earth. And they knew our name. They arrived in silence. Not with fire or fury, but with gravity. The fleet that answered Nexus 9's beacon was not built. It had grown. Its ships resembled vast bones held together by strands of living light. No thrusters. No weapons. Just pressure. Presence. A slow shift in mass that bent physics as it passed. On the bridge of the Callisto, Commander Linz stood motionless. Behind him, Earth's satellite grid lay dormant, intentionally blacked out. Humanity had shut its eyes. Now it listened. What are they? Varys whispered. Linz shook his head. Not a fleet. Then what? He stepped forward, staring through the view window at the approaching anomaly. A verdict. Earth Command sent one final encrypted message. Engage Protocol Edenfall. It was short. Old. built into the core of every Terran system after the first outbreak. Kale had helped design it. Now Kale was part of whatever was coming. Linz hesitated. Varys stood beside him. If we launch Edenfall, we isolate Earth. Cut off every gate. Every path. Everything. He looked at her, jaw clenched. I know. She didn't flinch. Kale wouldn't want this. He's gone. No. He evolved. Maybe this is what he meant. Fire was never the answer. Memory was. Then tell me what we remember, Linz said, voice tight. When they touch down and start rewriting biology from orbit. A beat. Then she said it. We remember why we burn. The alien construct began speaking. Not in words. In images. Broadcast directly into human minds. Kale's face. The plague's origin. Earth's fires. The vault. Then a field of choices. Not demands. Options. Join. Resist. Evolve. The message was clear. They weren't here to conquer. They were offering ascension. At a cost. Earth had 3 hours to respond. After that, they'd decide for us. Linz left the bridge and walked alone through the cryobay. The walls were quiet. He stopped beside one sealed pod, frost forming on the metal label. KLM. But it wasn't him inside. Just the suit. The one Kale had worn when he first descended into the vault. Burnt. Torn. Empty. Varys found Linz minutes later. They're transmitting again, she said. This time memories. Human ones. Ours. He turned. What? They accessed our archives. They're replaying them. Childhoods. Wars. Love stories. Laughter. Even music. Linz's eyes narrowed. They're asking us to see what they see. To see what we are, Varys said. He looked down at the pod. We're not built for peace. No, she replied. But maybe we're not meant to be. With 15 minutes left, Earth did something it had never done before. It responded. Not with missiles. Not with shields. With a story. A single broadcast. Every human voice, recorded, looped, overlapping. A stream of raw consciousness. Regret. Rage. Joy. Doubt. Hope. Billions of fragments stitched into one pulse. And at the center of it, Kale's voice. Fire is a lesson. Memory is a choice. They sent it out. And waited. The alien fleet stopped. For one breathless second, all readings flatlined. Then the ships fractured, shedding outer shells like dying petals. From within emerged smaller vessels, humanoid in scale, and possibly sleek, glowing with memory light. They did not land. They knelt. In orbit. A gesture of submission. A gift. Then, one by one, they folded into themselves and vanished. No sound. No trace. Just a final signal, left behind like an echo. Translated, it read. You remembered. So we remembered too. Earth came back online. The satellite grid lit up again. Gates reopened. Ships launched. But something was different. In the data logs. In the genes. In the dreams. Humanity had changed. Not corrupted. Not infected. Just opened. Some could now hear echoes in sleep. Others remembered things they never lived. But none felt alone anymore. Linz walked with Varys through the rebuilt vault on Nexus 9, now transformed into a memorial. Where Kale had stood, a tree now grew, its leaves faintly glowing in the dark. He gave us time, Varys said. No, Linz replied. He gave us something to grow into. He placed a single seed at the tree's base. One word etched into it. Remembrance. They stood in silence. And this time, it didn't feel empty. Final transmission. They mocked us for surviving. They feared us for remembering. They came to cleanse. We taught them chaos. They brought infection. We brought identity. And in the end, It wasn't fire that saved Earth. It was the human capacity to remember pain, and still choose meaning.